you assess the defensive effort last time out? You know, you only missed 6 tackles and yet you did concede 3 tries.
Yeah, I thought, I thought it was a pretty comfortable display from us really in defence without really hitting the heights of previous games. I don't think you can always necessarily measure the tries you concede with either good or bad defence. Sometimes you get away with having a bad defensive performance and not conceding many tries. And I thought generally, with the integration of all the international players coming back into our team for the week, I thought we just got back to a little bit of foundation work. And in hindsight, the first try we conceded came from a charge down, and I thought we could have done a little bit better on the edge there on the first try. I think the second try speaks for itself. I don't know what sort of defence I can put up against the second try, and the third try was really consolation. That's in the 78th minute. So I thought we were comfortable. I thought we did what we needed to do. I don't think we were really rarely threatened, and we did the job and got the job done.
How do you see young Keelan progressing in defence? How do you see him sort of developing as a defensive player?
Yeah, I think he's been excellent so far since I've been working with him. There's still, areas of his game defensively that he's looking to improve. A lot of those areas of improvement, come from being out on the field itself and being exposed to different scenarios that you can't always replicate on the training field. So it's a constant work in progress. But I must say, in terms of his defensive reads, he is one of the best at the club in terms of his understanding of alignment and his reading off a pass. So he's learning all the time, and the challenge is really just to keep trying to expose him to as many scenarios as possible that he's going to face in future games.
I mean, this week, in case the Challenge Cup, how much of a priority are you putting on it as a club?
Well, we want to go into, we always want to go into every game and try and deliver a performance. In saying that, we put ourselves in a good position in the first 2 games that we've played, but we're not looking too far ahead than the next game, which is obviously any time you play away in France, it's always a tough test. We know we're going to have to be right on our mettle if we're going to go out there and get the result, and hopefully we go out there and put the performance in. And I'm sure that if we can get our performance right on the night, we'll probably have enough in the tank. But we've got to make sure that we deliver that first and foremost.
And how difficult is it, Brad, to fight on 3 fronts: Pro 12, Anglo-Welsh, plus Challenge Cup?
I think it's difficult if you start to think that you're fighting on 3 fronts. I think that becomes a little bit all-encompassing. I really believe that if you just, we had a great 2-game block of beating both Scottish teams away and home, and now we can park that, and now we can move on to these next couple of games. And so we're just looking at this next block of 2 games with the round 1 of this next block of 2 games coming up against Grenoble, and then after that, then we can just park that and then refocus on the Christmas fixtures. So it's not difficult. Everything's about the squad and trying to worry about our performances first and foremost. And you're not going to win and lose every game. If you put everything always about winning, you're going to be, generally 75% of the time you might be happy, 25% you're going to be unhappy if you win in 3/4 of your games. But we just try and put in the best performance, and hopefully the scoreboard will reflect that. And that's pretty much it from our side of things.
With Dan Elliott, how much of a blow, is it to lose a player of his calibre, particularly in defence, really?
Well, I think particularly in defence, I think particularly around the place, I think it's from all of us coaching staff and everyone with the club. It's more disappointing for the player himself, who was getting back to some of his best form, and we're just obviously going to give him the best support and best medical treatment and try and get him back on the park as quickly as possible. But in saying that, we've got a pretty decent back row roster that we can pick from. So there's enough players who can step into that breach. But he's a quality player, and obviously losing someone for that length of time is always going to be a loss for your squad.
He's definitely out of the Lions tour as well, really, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I can't. I don't know about that. I don't know if he's out of it, and all I know that he's going to have to go through a rehabilitation program and get his get himself back to fitness, and we look forward to seeing him when he's back.
Last one from you, really.
Yep.
What are you expecting from Grenoble?
Physical, big. If they get things on the front foot and they get excited about playing front football, I think they're really dangerous. They're going to be a dangerous team, as most French teams are. So it's going to be a big test for us, and I think we've got to stamp our mark on the game and the way what we want to play, how we want to attack, how we want to deal in a set piece, how we want to defend, and then if we can do that, we can possibly take the crowd out of the equation and then go there and do a job.
Dan Lydiard, how difficult is it for players who've had injuries of that severity to come back and get back to the real physical peak that they were at before?
Yeah, I suppose I can only comment on that from my experience of a coach of guys who have been through that injury. I worked with Butch James at Bath for 3 years, and he'd had I think 4 knee reconstructions, and each time he was able to come back and still represent South Africa and still play fantastic rugby for Bath Rugby and also for the Sharks in South Africa. So I think most rugby players are competitive beasts. Most international players have got there because they're determined, they're competitive, they love playing the game. Dan's going to be no different. He's going to apply himself as much to his rehab, I imagine, as what he would to a training field, and I have absolutely no doubt that he'll get back to where he was. It's so much of it comes down to the determination of a player. We've got excellent medical staff here that will support him in all that way, and 100% sure that he's going to come back good, fit and firing.
Scott Ball, he took a head knock.
Yeah.
Onto the HIV. Is he likely to be ready for?
I'm not sure just as yet. I know he's going through the HIA protocols, and rightly so. And if he passes them, I'm sure he'll be considered for selection. But if not, obviously he has to have another week off. So.
And fly half, would you prefer to be the defensive fly half, Dan Bigger or Sam Davis?
I think both have their both strengths and weaknesses, and both are good with ball in hand. Both have strengths in their kicking game, and both have strengths and weaknesses in their defence. So, I think we're really lucky as a club that we've got 2 international fly halves on our books.
Are you bringing up the strongest available team this week? Is that the plan for the Ospreys? Are you really going for this tournament?
Well, we're going for every game that we can. Being mindful of the fact that we want to integrate some of the international players back into the fold. They're going to need their rest at some stage after having a pretty testing autumn international. So, we've got to rotate the squads. Steve's looking at that constantly, and whatever team we pick, we think that's the team that can go out there and get the job done. So, yeah, we're definitely targeting this game.
The French have got a reputation for not particularly caring that much about this particular tournament.
Yeah.
Do you expect to see that in Grenoble?
I think if you ever go to a French team at home, they're different beasts sometimes to what they deliver at home to what they deliver away. I think we're expecting them to turn up and turn up well in front of their home crowd and deliver a performance.
And is it fair to say that the real priority for the Ospreys this season is returning to the top flight of European rugby next season, rather than the European tournament during this tournament?
I think it's fair to say that we want to put ourselves in with the best chance of qualifying for Champions Cup. We want to put ourselves in the best chance to perform as well as we can, and I think with the quality of squad, we're a real chance to maintain where we are in the table. In terms of the other competitions, you've got to put yourself in with a chance of qualifying for the knockout stages before you can even think of what might be. So, again, it is a cliche, and I understand it's quite boring for you guys, but we really have to just take this as one game at a time.
As for other injuries, from Scott Baldwin and Dan Lydiard, are there any other concerns going into this game?
Off the top of my head, no. I think generally we've got a pretty fit roster. you know, we're looking fairly healthy. Obviously, we're just going to keep, as a group, like Steve will just keep rotating the squad as he, in discussion with the coaches to try and fit a team that's going to get the job done for us.